everyone. Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of words, recorder of videos, and tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to the Thursday edition of my bi-weekly behind-the-scenes DM-only live stream Crafting the Deep, in which I build, write, and prepare for our next session of Call from the Deep. If you're playing characters Gottwald, Max, Savro, Twirl, this stream is not meant for you. It will be full of spoilers. We stream our D&D sessions live on YouTube every Friday. The world does keep turning. You join our official Discord server. They might link in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out patreon.com/RogueWatson. For our campaign, we use Roll29 for streaming for screaming. Maybe I sometimes scream. I use OBS Studio. I will say this. This is a very sobering Thursday. Election week, I guess, in the US. And if this crafting stream were yesterday, I would have canceled. I was not in the right frame of mind to be able to talk to anybody or interact with humans. But did some, I guess, self-care. I actually hate that term self-care. It just sounds so eye-rollingly lame. But that's what it is. It's like you just need to go, like, and it's different for everybody, right? Either like you can lie down, you want to go for a walk. For me, it's taking a really long, hot shower and just getting all the thoughts out. And then you come out of the shower, and then I listen to like a lot of fucking Elton John, like favorite music really helps. Just like whatever you need to do just to get over shit like that. Because I have always been a stupidly eternal optimist for everything, which is easy for me. I've lived a very privileged, easy life, frankly. I will absolutely admit that. So it certainly helped for the optimism. But man, this week really butts against my eternal optimism quite a bit. This is not a political podcast or anything, by the way. We are going to talk about D&D, and I think it's important. I just want to acknowledge the elephant in the room, but I think D&D is such a great escape for a lot of us, and I suspect a lot of folks play D&D and, gaming in general, to be able to escape from the world, which is why I suspect a lot of folks, come at me with, hey, don't talk politics. This is for D&D. And like, well, yeah, but politics keeps fucking with us. It's hard to ignore. And especially for a lot of folks out there, it's damn near impossible to ignore, which is also I would say that's also a position of privilege if you can ignore politics, frankly. But I will agree that D&D is an escape, and that's a lot of why we want to jump into it and play it and enjoy it, so that we can kind of escape from all of our worries personally, whatever we have going on, as well as just general existential dread, right, for the macro level of stuff. Because unfortunately, as awesome as the world we live in, frankly, and it's still awesome. I think that's important to remember. Like, would you rather live now, or would you rather live 50 years ago or 100 years ago, right? Like, you really got to keep putting that in perspective. And I know it sucks that we're just you feel like you're crawling on glass to get ahead and make progress anywhere. But in general, I think we do still go forward. I don't know. I lost my train of thought. Anyway, we are going to talk about D&D, but I just wanted to address all those feelings and things I had. I even thought about making a whole video about it and putting it out, but again, I was just not. I needed to step away from everything and put myself in the right frame of mind. But now I'm feeling better. I'm so glad I've got an awesome family. I can just get joy from my kids and talk to my wife for long times and share all that. So talking, listening to music, going on walks, like hydrating, all those things. That's all good shit. And if you're celebrating, then good for you. I live in Texas, so there's a lot of jubilation going on right now. I'm pretty sure at least one of my neighbors not too far away shut off fireworks on Tuesday. That was a choice, and they are illegal here, but All right, D&D. Call from the Deep. We are talking about. Well, we're talking about the Northern Trisk area, I think, because I've talked a lot about the Temple of Tentacles, and now I even thought about going back, because my original thought was to put the High Priest as the secret Mind Flayer, right, and have that be the big reveal. But now God, we're so late for me to change this too. We're going tonight. But now I'm thinking maybe I want to actually put the Mind Flayer in this kind of precursor dungeon um, that I think the players are going to go to first. They could skip all of this technically if they end up going down that hole in the Temple of Tentacles, which nobody will advise they do. Um, but they could end up going down to the ruins of Ascarl, and then that's where I've got like the scene with the Kraken and all of that. And then I would probably, well, I have a little bit of that prepped, but honestly, that would probably be a good like ending of the session right there, because that would force me to like reevaluate what I'm prepping next if they do that. If they don't, and they decide instead to save Franus and listen to him, then Franus will tell them of this location, which is the tower. And I think I'm going to flavor this as kind of the older, maybe the older temple that used to be in, that the Kraken Society maybe used to use, long since abandoned or anything. And they don't really use it anymore, but maybe, and Franus maybe hasn't ever been inside here, but he knows that it's being used by the priests as of late, so he has his suspicions, but I guess he hasn't, maybe he's just cowardly or something, but he hasn't really like followed up on exploring this location. One thing that bugs me about this whole area, and it's interesting that I've reviewed, and a lot of YouTube folks have reviewed Call from the Deep very positively, and I would still generally do it positively, but now that I'm actually running the damn thing, I've got a lot of complaints. Now that I'm doing a really, like, the most thorough review I can possibly do, which obviously is not what I usually do with a lot of products. I don't usually run all these products, for example. But now that I'm running this one, I am finding a lot of holes and issues and complaints that I have with it. And particularly in this final area, I think there's a weird bit where the designer wanted to do a kind of just generic Lovecraftian theme here, which originally I was on board with, but then I thought it kind of takes away from the whole like Mind Flayer as the villains thing versus like some kind of Cthulhu Elder God as the villain thing. So I want to keep hammering home that it's like the situation here is the Kraken Society has been taken over or co-opted by this Mind Flayer colony, including having the Elder Brain grafted onto Slarkrethel, so they really be able to take over like the highest level of the Kraken Society. But I don't really see that reflected in any of the surface level stuff until you get all the way down into Ascarl, and then you see like all of the Mind Flayers around doing their thing. But on the surface level, it's all just like generic Lovecraftian horror stuff, and it almost just kind of comes out of left field. I guess the only thing that it's really like inspired from is that the I think it mentioned somewhere that the Kraken layer or something has like thinned the veil between the Far Realm and here. I guess maybe the Kraken's associated with the Far Realm a little bit, and like some Far Realm creatures have come through, but I don't know if I don't know. It just feels like it's a slight, like, I like the Lovecraftian theme, but it feels like it's going a little bit away from what the actual main plot is, which is why I'm starting to look at these areas. Like, for example, in this dungeon in particular, really sells the whole Lovecraft. I mean, there's a goddamn Shoggoth. Shoggoth? How do you pronounce that? Shoggoth? Shoggoth? Whatever the fucking Cthulhu language is. Guarding like the end of the, like, it's the mini boss of this dungeon. I'm like, where the fuck did that come from? Like, so that's the part, like, versus like how more thematically appropriate would it be, and story wise makes sense that it would be like Mind Flayer minions or thralls and things happening versus all this like Far Realm shenanigans. So that's where I'm coming with this, and it's annoying because I don't want to have to make all these changes, right? Part of like running a published campaign that somebody else has done is like, I've got, you know, all the pieces are in place, and then I can make little fine-tuned adjustments here and there that I think my group would appreciate and that I want to run more interestingly. But I find myself having to make a lot of these like very major like changes that I shouldn't have to make, especially in the final area. I wish you had a group to play with too, Sylvan. Elephant in the Room is a clever American politics pun. Sure, yep. I gotta blow my nose. Hang on, I still have allergies. I'm so sorry. Someday. Someday I will get over this. Oh my gosh. We're like a month behind on our weather too. It's killing me. Like it's like 70 degrees and raining right now, which is I thought more what October is supposed to do. Oh yeah. Okay, so I'll give you an example of what's going on here in Northern Trisk. So there's a tower here, which by the way, this map. Oh fuck, where did I get this map from? Where did I get this map? Okay, this map is from the Ghosts of Saltmarsh Discord server. So you go to the, I guess they're unofficial, but they're all based on the, and there's one for all the big campaigns. I think the whole Discord server is for them, and there's a whole channel section that's Ghosts of Saltmarsh, and then within that there's a map section. If you go to all, I don't know how to link to Discord stuff, but you go to all that. This is one of the maps that you can find there, just the Northern Trisk, and somebody made a map and then somebody else resized it so it actually fits properly in Roll20. Unfortunately, as you can see, actually blown up in Roll20, it kind of blows up the resolution a little bit. Not horribly so, because I appreciate that it's got some nice detail and color. It looks kind of like a maybe 32-bit video game, I feel like, which I dig that art style. But so it's not perfect, but it's hard for me to look a gift horse in the mouth. Like I need a color map that exactly does the dungeon is like the best thing versus what I've had to do with previous dungeons, which is like rethink the entire dungeon because I can't find and I have no map making skills of my own. So anyway, that's what this map is. So it's actually the map, which is nice. Although I've also mentioned Roll20 for some weird error did not actually put this black and white map into the again, unless I hit it somewhere, which I don't think I did. But it's not actually in the Roll20 map page, so there's no way for me to even look and see like examples and stuff. They just straight up didn't do it. I assume that was some kind of terrible error on their part. I'm scrolling through and seeing, but yeah, and those are all the other ones. So yeah, it's not even in here. So I have to completely redo the map. So, but thankfully it's already in here so I can follow the thing. But I just mentioned how I'm probably not going to follow it because there's some issues with it. So they make it in the tower. There's a top level, but there's no point going up there. Although I guess you can go up to the top and see. I think you can you see it from the top? Let's see. Characters who succeed on a DC 16 perception check while atop the tower notice a pair of pillars. These pillars match those on the parchment. Characters who explore the waters beyond find the location of Escarl. So I guess you can end up just going into the water directly into that Ruins of Escarl map, probably via the southern side. So that's one way. There's actually multiple ways to get here, which is nice. Well, it's nice for the players. It's, of course, hell for the DM because you got to try to figure out which way they're going to go and then prep accordingly from them. They go to a basement, and then the designer makes the very cardinal sin of having a important critical location behind a secret door. Can't really do that because what happens if they don't get it? They're like, oh, they turn around and they're fucked. Can't go to this place. So instead, I'm gonna have it like slightly ajar or something because this is not like a highly trafficked area. It's like only the priests even really know about it. They go up here, and only Frannis has an inkling that they've been kind of sneaking off towards this location. So that's what's down here, and they go down the stairs. And that leads to Area 4 down here, which is the main subterranean shrine. So this one has statues covered in ooze, horrific mutations of the human form, which is, again, the statue reads Yog Fren the Sufferer. Like, it's all very Lovecraftian stuff, but it's like, where is this coming from? There are 5 ochre jellies in the chamber, one in each of the 5 alcoves. I'm not really getting good alcoves on this map, but okay. Starfish shaped, which again, kind of Lovecraftian, I guess. and they're linked to the statue. This is a cool idea. I don't know if I'm going to use the ochre jellies themselves. They're kind of a pain in the ass, frankly. But they're tied to 3 statues, and anytime you deal damage to the jellies, it deals damage to the statues instead. The statues scream, so it kind of alerts the players that I don't know, there's some kind of connection there. And the statues have their own AC and hit points that you have to break through. So essentially, you kind of create this like bulwark of defense on top of these creatures. Which that part's kind of interesting. Or you can target them with Dispel Magic, so and turn that whole thing off. And then when you destroy a statue, it actually triggers a DC 10 Wisdom save, or the players have to roll on the short-term Madness table. It's interesting. We're starting to get into the Madness rules. That is what's in this room. Oh, there's also an altar, but the altar is there's no villain here. It's just it has a +2 dagger, a ring of free action, and some chalices. The altar, I believe, is supposed to be currently glowing because there's a device in area 6, which is right here to the north, past a pair of, I believe, locked doors. Yes. And there's a device that you can pull the levers. There's 3 different wheels. You can rotate the wheels, and that changes a constellation somewhere. I don't know where this constellation is. Maybe it's just right there in the room. And it shows 3 different constellations, or you can turn it on to nothing, I guess. And that creates 3 wildly different effects. One of them, which is where it starts, is that all creatures in the dungeon have disadvantage on Wisdom and Charisma saving throws. Obviously, that's really bad for all their Madness saves and stuff. The other one is that creatures in the dungeon have advantage on attack rolls and survival checks. And the other one makes the altar glow yellow. All these things have different effects in the altar. They all glow different colors. Makes the altar glow yellow, and if you touch it, you have a chance to turn to gold. Because I guess they're supposed to be thematically tied to these different constellations, but I don't know. How much do constellations and stuff have to do with the Kraken Society? So it's an interesting idea. I don't know if the players would have any idea what's going on here. You can make a check on the constellations. What is it? Just an intelligence check, and that kind of clues you into what the constellations do, although it doesn't, or like what they represent, I guess. Like the crown is a promise of riches, but you would have no idea that, like, okay, all that does is turn the altar yellow, and then if you touch it, you yourself turns to gold via the petrification system, which takes you 1 failed save, which restrains you, and then the second failed save turns into gold. Yes, literally the Midas touch. Yeah, Ring of Free Action is going to be pretty good. So I don't know how much I want to use that. Or what the purpose of it was for the... Because I'm assuming this was all originally for the Kraken Society. It's an old temple and shrine for the Kraken Society. Well, actually, let me see what they said it is. Let's see. On the northern shore of Trisk is a tower where the elders commune with Slarkrethel. In the catacombs beneath the tower is a tunnel which leads directly to Escarl. From this yawning descent lurch debased miscreation. From this yawning descent lurch debased miscreations whose ilk is not known in the material plane. Okay, there needs to be a comma in there somewhere. From this yawning descent, comma, lurch, which is the verb, debased miscreations, which is the adjective noun. That's a very tricky sentence to work through. Whose ilk is not known in the material plane. These aberrations from the void between the stars are formed of the malignancy of Slarkrethel manifest and guard his sacred places. Formed of the malignancy of Slarkrethel manifest. Okay. I guess I didn't realize that Kraken Society was very Far Realm themed. And the problem is I haven't really introduced that much yet. The Kraken Society moved into a pre-existing dungeon that used to be the center of a Cthulhu cult, and they were slowly dragged in the void. Yeah, that seems like it's adding too many things, though. I guess I need to know more about like what would a shrine temple. What's that's what the Temple of Tentacles is now, right? That to me, that's what the Slarkerthel temple looks like, which is very water themed. It's got the Kraken statue, like all of that is already in place. So if that was their newer, better temple for Kraken Society worshippers, and obviously the Mind Flayers just continue using that, then what was this shrine used for? And I'm even thinking like, do I want to move the instead of having Ingramar be a Mind Flayer in disguise? I know I thought I've already decided on that, but maybe I want to put them in this shrine and turn it into like another kind of Mind Flayer workshop behind the scenes area, which is sort of similar to what the Styes was, which is where the party made it to like the final thing, and it turns out similar, and the Styes, it was also Kraken Society people, but there was a Mind Flayer like pulling the strings behind them doing the things. And that would be kind of a similar deal here, except instead of the Mind Flayer being the top priest, maybe the top priest has just been enthralled by this Mind Flayer who's actually down here working in the dregs, because and then I don't have to do any kind of like magical disguise shenanigans. And then it makes sense why the priests would constantly be coming here, because they need to confer with the Mind Flayer, and perhaps the Mind Flayer keeps doing the enthrallment to keep them all steady or something, I guess. The only issue is that why wouldn't they do that for it's more dramatically fun for me to like during the Temple of Tentacles scene to grab Frannis, the not evil priest, I guess, or at least he's still a Kraken Society priest, but he's not a Mind Flayer enthralled priest. Why they wouldn't take him here so he could get his re-education or whatever, become a new thrall, versus we're just going to kill this guy and throw him down the hole and just take him directly to the Kraken, unless that's where they do it, is down. So I'm trying to get my story straight, basically. So are they bringing people here for re-education, or are they actually sending them down the chute, and then it's the Kraken and Elder Brain itself who's actually, and maybe that would be more appropriate. If you've got the Elder Brain here, then maybe that thing can actually, because unfortunately there's no real mechanics for the enthrallment. It just says like it takes the whole colony, and it takes them a while to like implant this new thing. So maybe it's the Elder Brain themselves, who can actually do that to people. So in that case, what is this used for? Why is this an important location? Or maybe, I mean, I haven't told the players anything yet. Maybe it's not an important location for the priests at all. And maybe it just happens to be that Frannis knows this location and knows it used to be an ancient, I don't know, and I can change what it is, but like an ancient shrine to the Kraken from the before time, I don't know, for a long time ago, but it also provides an entrance into Ascarl. But if it's a regular entrance, let me think. If they need to go into Ascarl to confer, yeah, because they definitely, the Mind Flayers would definitely have to be traveling through this, because there's a whole underground area to the dungeons. I'm gonna blow this map up. This is the Dungeons of Ascarl. So the entrance is down. My overlay's covering it up a little bit. It's always a problem when I have these giant ass maps I'm trying to show off. So the entrance is here from this Trisk map, right? If you look at this one, so this end goes up here to the upper right at the end. You come in on the left, you go to the right, and then that takes you here on the left side of this map. And then this whole middle area, this giant circle, and this lower right area is all like Mind Flayer shit. That's all over the place. So it makes sense why they would actually travel through Trisk. Would be their easiest access to get to their stuff. So if they are indeed have been enthralled, then they would be traveling through this area, and it would be a pretty regular area for them to traverse. In which case, it doesn't make any sense to me to have a bunch of weird Lovecraftian shit that's going to kill people. If like the Mind Flayer crew and enthralled people are all making their way through this area. Now we can still have guards, but they would be all at the behest of the Mind Flayer colony and not weird ass Lovecraftian shit, right? Like that's kind of where I'm coming with this. If that, because this is their, I think this is their main entrance to get to Asgard. You can obviously just swim in the water and go down, but that's still super dangerous, even for followers of the Kraken Society. It's still dangerous to go in the fucking open water, because I imagine the Kraken, like, attracts a whole bunch of just monstrous sea creatures, and they probably just don't think to interview people before they just start attacking and stabbing people. Although it's actually mostly full of marrow, I think, in the ruins of Escarl. Anubis, it is a long time no talk. Watching a monk video, I wanted to mention the grappler feat paired with Elementalist Monk. That makes it so much better. Ooh, explain. I didn't actually... One thing I haven't done with my building videos is really go on advanced, like, build options or anything necessarily, and especially in looking at a lot of feats. But the only ones I really look at are the starter ones, and I just love how Tavern Brawler synergizes with Monk to a hilarious effect. We're getting a lot of ex-sailor monks, including the one I built for Monk. So, but that sounds cool. So that's where I'm looking at it for the Trisk map, is trying to say, okay, this is an area that's being frequented, which is probably why, like, that one entrance is open, for example. Like that secret door is ajar. So there are people, normally priests of the Kraken Society, who have been enthralled by the Mind Flayer, are making their way through this area with some regularity. So I need to... So there could definitely be some guard stuff in place, but it needs to have all been produced by the Mind Flayers, I think. So what have we introduced so far from the Mind Flayers? They've got those slithering trackers, so I've introduced kind of weird liquid oozes that they can use, although I don't know if I'm interested in having another fight with those creatures necessarily. So maybe ochre jellies would be a proper defense. They would be trained to fight, to attack anybody who's not Kraken Society. Somehow they can just tell. Ochre jellies are, of course, CR2. Almost like the standard ooze, I feel like, and they've got the split feature. If they're subject to lightning or slashing damage, they split into 2 new jellies that then have half hit points, and they can do that, I believe, 2 or 3 times, because they start off as large. By the way, I'm not even sure you can fit 5 large oozes in this map plus the players. I mean, maybe that's part of the fun of it all. And it says they come out of alcoves, but I don't know. Like, again, large is like a 10, it's a pretty big fucking space for oozes. I mean, could be a fun fight, I guess. I just don't know if that's something that Mind Flayers could use. Ochre jellies don't really have a mind. So I'm not sure how they would be used as a reliable defense necessarily. There is a Kraken Priest down in room 7, I believe. Ursel. But I think she's just supposed to be insane from the Far Realm stuff. And again, I just don't know how much Far Realm things I want to do. Unfortunately, there is a few more in the dungeons of Escarl as well. There's like a whole bunch of gibbering mouthers. So the one thing I guess I could do is I've teased that at least one of the Mind Flayers, in fact, the one I'm going to be using here for Deep Lord Ingramar, was somebody who is a like biological scientist and created that army of sea spawn that attacked Neverwinter earlier in the campaign, which were like mutated people. So perhaps the one thing I was thinking is I could turn this area into that Mind Flayer's workshop, because we didn't do it in Bronzo Mine. They basically just walked into the mine. We had like the one big fight, and then the Mind Flayer left, right? So I could do that here, and I guess I could still leave the Mind Flayer as the High Priest if I wanted to, and make that a big shock that it's actually a Mind Flayer in disguise. And then they just get here, and and this is like the Mind Flayer's workshop that the Mind Flayer's taken over. That used to be an old shrine, and then I can maybe create like, I don't know. I always like that really creepy. I don't know if it's a trope, but like you walk into like the mad scientist's laboratory, and there's like vats of like just messed up mutated creatures, kind of like fetus looking, and they're like just terrible things wrong with them, and like some of them are dead, and others are just kind of floating in water. It's just such a I don't know if even there's a word for that, like, but I feel like we've all seen that scene before in like various different media or horror movies or sci-fi movies or something. That was kind of what I was picturing that I could do here, and maybe that's like where the Mind Flayer was doing, I don't know, some experiments, and then maybe those experiments could be some of the guards. But then I don't know if that makes much sense to just have this be a thoroughfare that they're using to get through here. I mean, I guess they could be using this end, but they're supposed to be down here at number 7. There's 2 paths where you can when you go down the stairs from the tower, it opens up into 2 different options, I guess. You can either go through area 4, which is the big shrine I'm talking about with the jellies and the altar, or you can go south into area 7. I believe it's like a 20-foot cliff, so it's not like an obvious path you can take. Yeah, in the southwest of the cavern is a 20-foot high rock shelf that leads to area 7. Perception score of 20 or higher. Here's whispering sounds from the tunnel. So that was not supposed to be an obvious path. So instead, it's supposed to be a path to go through here, which maybe we don't have to do enemies either. There should be at least one fight. This is actually an interesting dungeon crawl. There's not a lot of combat, so maybe we could just do those like creepy vats of half-finished creatures, and the twist here is that none of them are actually gonna turn into a big fight, and just kind of let the players see it and explore and see like maybe what the Mind Flayers are doing to people to an extent. And then we have at least one, and the designer used like a Shoggoth, for example. Maybe I could use, I don't know, like I don't know. Actually, it'd be great for you all in the chat to help me out. Like what stat block could represent, kind of mutated people. I know we used Sea Spawn was pretty obvious, but maybe like one that's specifically used as like a guardian, just to keep people, just in case somebody comes in here. Could be used, and we could turn that into the person here, or we could change the Shoggoth as well. So I may weirdly be thinking about actually eliminating that big ochre jelly fight completely, and just having it be kind of a creepy exploration room. I don't know, unless there's a different kind of creature idea I can use. But it doesn't make much sense if this is a thoroughfare for the villains to walk through here and make it to their dungeon. I don't see jellies being, well, I guess it says they're psychically linked, like as like proper guard dogs. They have an intelligence of 2, but I don't think they have brains. Their stat distribution is hilarious. 15 strength, 6 dexterity, 14 constitution, intelligence of 2, wisdom of 6, and a charisma of 1. Good old ochre jelly. AC of 8. Can't get much worse than that. Ochre jellies and zombies. Pretty low AC. Star Spawn. Sorrow Sworn. Allops or Gibbering Mouthers. I know y'all love this assignment too. They're like, oh, he needs stat blocks. Well, just let me give you some proper stat blocks. Oh yeah, I was looking up Warlock earlier because I was thinking if I wanted to change and not make Ingramar a Mind Flayer in disguise, there was actually a couple different stat blocks I could use. There's a Mind Flayer Warlock stat block, and there's also a Deep Scion Warlock stat block. These are from Monster Manual Expanded, I believe, which would actually be pretty darn appropriate, and may actually be more appropriate than using a Mind Flayer. I guess you'd lose the Mind Blast thing. But has some pretty cool spells. Cone of Cold, Everard's Black Tentacles, Lightning Bolt, all those good stuff. So that's... But if it is going to be a Mind Flayer in disguise, then I could just use, I guess, the Mind Flayer stat block that's already built in. All right, let's look up some of these other ones that we could use. Oh, I guess let me look at the crazy lady first. So Ursula is in Area 7, which again is this kind of higher cave that I guess they wouldn't be taking. Ursula's been driven insane by the Shoggoth, which guards the passage between Area P9 and Ascarl. She was supposed to guard the entrance to the sunken city, but the endless droning of the Shoggoth was too much for her to bear. After her mind snapped, she deafened herself with a dagger. Ooh. Her madness manifests as a near constant conversation between herself and some invisible being and a hatred of the color green. She's a gladiator stat block, which is pretty strong, but Actually, it's quite strong. CR5, 112 hit points. So she's an insane gladiator. 4 characters can attempt to communicate with her. They must suppress or cure her madness. Right. That's certainly something players would think of and not just attack her. you, other parties may do that, but not my group. That's an enemy. Only once her madness is removed can characters converse with her using telepathy, writing, or by succeeding a DC 15 intelligence check. Ursula knows the layout of the dungeon as well as its link to Ascarl. She warns characters to avoid the passage out of fear rather than any lingering devotion to Slarkarthel and the Elders. Ursula knows what Area P6 contains and has the keys to the chamber, but doesn't understand the workings of the machinery within. So it doesn't make any sense that this person would just be left here as a guard who's been driven insane. If the Mind Flayers are constantly making their way through, and the Kraken Priests are constantly going through. And I guess that's the part that I'm changing, to be fair, from the book, is I don't think it ever says in the book that this is an active entrance that the priests are using. I think although there is a Mind Flayer on among the priests still, or it's just on the, anyway, I think that's what I'm changing here. So we could change them to something else, her to something else. Another statue. Let's see, statue and tunnel. Where are we at? So 9 hates a guard room. There's nothing of note in this room. Okay, seems like a missed opportunity to put like a journal or something. Narrow tunnel descends to the earth for a mile before reaching Area 32 in Ascarl. The tunnel is guarded by a hideous Shoggoth that resides 60 feet into the tunnel. Great, so it's not even on this map, so we're going to have to change that. Whose aim is to slaughter anyone who would dare travel to Ascarl. Remember that if the machinery in Area 6 is set to no constellation, the Shoggoth loses its damage resistance. Yeah, I'm also not sure I want to keep the machinery thing. What I could keep the machinery... it's odd that the machinery is in a different room, but maybe you do want to put your levers in there. I could change the machinery to doing the constellation thing to like operating like the vats or something. Like one of them like opens up all the vats maybe, and maybe that actually adds a monster or two to the fight. Another one maybe kills them all somehow. I don't think they have like incineration systems in all these, but I don't know, maybe it just drains them of liquid and you see them like die inside the vat. And then I don't know what the third one would do. But maybe that's interesting. I could have like 3 levers that all have these weird like, Qualith, that's like the Mind Flayer language thing, and somebody tries to decipher what they mean, which I believe takes like an intelligence check or possibly going madness from that. So instead of an altar, it'd just be like a workbench or something. I don't know. Maybe there's maybe I could put like a dead body on there that's currently being vivisected and changed around. So I guess the main way to turn this into a fight is if I actually did want to put the Mind Flayer here. But that maybe just copying, maybe it's more fun to put it in the temple and have it be the Mind Flayers actually actively they're doing stuff, and then only when they're not doing, showing face, I guess, to the Kraken Society and the people in the village, then they come down here and do their experiment. So it's not a big deal, I think, especially if you've already faced the villain, to then go into the villain's lair afterwards. Not something we do too often here in these D&D campaigns, but that could happen. All right, let's look up Starspawn. I know you guys have showed this to me before, and I'm going to act like I've never seen this before, but yeah, Starspawn, I think we have looked at that. Yeah, the Mangler, that's a good one. Let's see, the most recent is Mordenkainen Presents Monster. Boy, we're going to have a field day whenever they finally release this goddamn new monster book, aren't we? I'm going to have to do a hell of a review on that. Starspawn Mangler. Yeah, that looks cool. Low-slung creeping horror with multiple gangly arms. That definitely sounds like something that would come out of a mad scientist mutation. It's even like associated with Elder Evils. Fantastic. Wait, what is this? Elder Evil Blessings. Okay. I think we need that. Advantage on initiative rolls. So it always surprises, basically. Makes 2 claw attacks, or it can make 6 claw attacks if it recharges its flurry of claws. Or after these attacks, move up to its speed up for opportunity attacks. That's fantastic. Very simple creature to run. Even does... If the attack roll has advantage, the target also takes psychic damage. Ooh, I don't know how I would get advantage other than ambushing. It does have a +7 to stealth. Interesting. Okay, we like the Mangler, though. That's a good one. That's exactly what I was picturing in terms of a creature that's like a mutated person. It's weird looking. Very alien-esque, so that's awesome. Okay. So thumbs up to that one. It's only a CR5. I say only. The player's going to be level 11 coming into this. So I don't know if that's good enough for a boss. What was the Shoggoth here? What did the designer want to put in there for a boss fight? A CR10 Shoggoth. Okay. The artwork is just a... It almost looks like an open portal and a bunch of tentacles coming out. Tentacles and paws and claws and eyes. It's good shit. 127 hit points, AC of 14. It can turn into acidic gas. I mean, that could be the pinnacle of mutation, I guess. Some kind of tentacle creature. I also thought about Gibbering Mouther, but which is actually already in fact, that's the first thing that the party runs into in the Dungeons of Ascarl. They appear at area 32, and my jaw dropped when I saw this. Creatures, 8 humanoid gibbering mouthers lumber through the cavern. 8. That's fucking terrifying because each one forces a 20-foot radius of a DC 10 Wisdom saving throw that basically confers the confusion effect, and players love it when they lose their turn. Just be like permanently locked down. That's terrible. And 8 is hilarious. But pretty appropriate for mutation. That would be like the most extreme version of a mutation. Is like it's a fleshy monster. It reminds me of the Dazan thing we did in Rime of the Frostmaiden. I went real body horror with that too. All right, what other star spawn? We like the Mangler. There's a larva. Almost said lava mage. Larva mage. One of the Sorrow Swarm, my players nicknamed them Mouth Roosters. Oh my lord. Larva Mage is a nightmarish combination of a mortal body and otherworldly substance. It's like made of worms. That's like a little too... That's a little too much. Yeah, that's like no longer... Oh god, it's a CR16 too. Okay, yeah, that's not what we're looking for. How about the Emissary? A greater star spawn emissary. That sounds big and bad. Oh lord. Okay. The fingers of alien realms, digitals that tip the scales of reality towards terror, heralded by ominous astrological events. CR21. Yeah, that's not what we're looking for. This is some final boss shit. Hilarious though. Although you could always look at these for ideas for creepy like effects that can hit the players. Probably not so much though. There's a lesser star spawn emissary for Van Richten's. I think I'm looking for more humanoid stuff though. The lesser one's a CR19. Okay, star spawn Hulk is got a hilarious picture. That's a CR10. Multi-attack, slam, reaping arms, make separate slam attacks against each creature within 10 feet of it. It's kind of similar to the claw guy, though. Both of them hit it. They have a chance to stun. That's kind of nice. I don't like it as much as the Mangler. There's a Seer. I'll get to the Sorrow Sworn in a second. Okay, that one looks real fishy and mutated. What are you? Oh, you're a little high. You'd be like the boss of this place. You're at 13. 150 hit points, 17 AC. Comet Staff or Psychic Orb attacks? Well, I don't think he'd have a Comet Staff, which that would lower his CR, I guess. The CR would be hit by an attack roll. It teleports along with any equipment is wearing. Carrying exchange and with another star spawn, it can see within 60 feet. It's got like space-time powers, which is not necessarily what I'm going for here. Alright, it's a little too spellcastery, I guess. The Gru, which is a real tiny guy. Messed up looking. Small aberration, CR 1/4, only 17 hit points. Creatures within 20 feet of the Gru that aren't aberrations have disadvantage on saving throws as well as on attack rolls against creatures other than a star spawn Gru. Okay. Kind of has some debuff stuff. That's interesting. I could put some of these in the vats too. They can do their aura of shrieks. That'd be pretty creepy. That would give the players disadvantage on their shit while they're shrieking. That could be very interesting. Let's move you in here. I don't think the players are going to make it here tomorrow, by the way, because I think we're going to do the whole temple scenario and fight, which I think is going to be a big fight that'll take a long time unless I grossly underestimate how much the party kicks ass. But then we'll have an important dialogue scene afterwards, hopefully. And then on the way here, I'm actually going to trigger a encounter battle, or just a scene, I guess, where they're seeing some folks sacrificing, like yeeting kids off this cliff. And no doubt they'll, no doubt, hopefully they'll feel like they need to be engaged with this and stop that from happening. And that would be probably like a Deep Scion fight. Or perhaps a chance for just doing some big role playing or something. But I'd probably be by the time they enter this area, we could do like the entrance to it. But then by the time they actually make this to this number 4 room is probably when I would call the session. So that's the Gru. I think that's all the one. Okay, so now let's look at Sorrow. Sorrow Sworn. It's all one word. Is indeed. Okay, we've got Lost, Sorrow Sworn, Angry, Hungry, Lonely, Wretched. Okay. So these started in Tomb of Foes, but I think Monsters of the Multiverse is the most recent, so let's use that. I don't know why there's 2 entries of all these, though. The Lost Sorrow Sworn. Okay. Fun fact. I used this creature in one of the patron games that we ran. In a non-traditional combat encounter, I will say. It was in a dungeon, but it was, I don't know how much I don't want to tease it, but it was a creature that the party was actually trying to get through to. Like a creature they kind of knew in a way, or had a quest, I guess, to try to talk to. And this creature just wanted to hug them because I loved its abilities Embrace, and it deals damage when it hugs you. So I thought that was an interesting, kind of I don't think we ever went into traditional combat with this creature, but instead it was like a tense RP scene that involved damage. So pretty fun use of it. But that is, I remember using this creature for that purpose. But that's definitely appropriate though. Mutation where it just has 6 or 5, I guess that's 5 limbs, and they're all fucking like knife swords, like a T1000, or sorry, like the yeah, it's a T1000. That's the one. That's the liquid nitrogen guy, right? Robert Patrick. I think the T800 is Arnie. That's cool though. Arm spikes and does the creepy embrace thing. So we might earmark that one. Lost Sorrow Sworn. I'd have to rename these to just like Hideous Mutation or Experiment, 27 or something. The Angry Sorrow Sworn. Okay, that's a really creepy mutation. It's got like hook horror hands and 2 heads. Sloppily grafted together, I would say. CR13, that is definitely the boss. Sorrowsworn has advantage on the saving throws against being blinded, charmed, deafened, frightened, stunned, or knocked unconscious. If another creature deals damage to the Sorrowsworn's attack rolls have advantage till the end of its next turn. In the first minutes with a hook attack, the attack's target takes an extra 3d12 psychic damage. Geez, so it's basically always going to get that off. It's always going to be taking damage. On its turn, Sorrowsworn has disadvantage attack rolls if no other creatures dealt damage to it. That's interesting, but it's pretty much always going to get that then. These 2 hook attacks. Okay, okay. If I definitely want a stronger boss type creature again to replace like the Shoggoth, that might work. It feels weird that, again, if I'd have to put the creature maybe down. Does it say what this is in Area 9? Because the creature would have to be like not actively roaming around too much if there's literally traffic going through here. Like I can't just put it in the middle of the tunnel necessarily. Green statue looms high in a chamber opposite a narrow tunnel or center of the bowels of the earth. Triple aspect of the model is hard to bear, but it depicts a grotesquely emaciated humanoid carrying a gong in its mouth. Okay. So it's just a statue. Maybe we could put the creature there or something. So yeah, the angry could be used as possibly the boss in here. There's the hungry. Grasping claws and distended jaws. I like it. Also, webbed hands. That's pretty appropriate here. CR11. God, all these things are fucking high-level creatures. AC 17, hit points 225. Sorrowsworn makes 1 bite attack and 1 claw attack. Let's see, bite, 1d8 plus 4, plus 3d8 necrotic. Claws can also grapple and restrain, which is pretty nice. Life Hunger. If a creature within 60 feet of the Sorrowsworn regains hit points, the Sorrowsworn gains 2 benefits until the end of its next turn. It has advantage on attack rolls, and its bite deals an extra 4d10 necrotic damage on a hit. Interesting. Because a player would never normally think twice about healing them. Although they don't do too much healing, especially in this campaign, we don't have healers. The biggest thing is probably Gottwald using Second Wind to heal. Because I don't think, I guess they do drink potions, which it does say it just if they regain hit points. It doesn't even say it has to be a healing spell or anything. So that's kind of cool. What do I like more, the hungry or what was the angry? Put them together, and what do you get? Hangry. The angry is stronger for sure. Because it's going to do 2 plus 8 to hit, 2d12 plus 3 damage. Actually, I'm not sure if that is more average damage than this guy. But the Rising Anger it would do, if it's a boss, then it would get this every time, where it has advantage on attacks, with plus 8 with advantage is huge, and deals an extra 3d12 psychic damage the first time on its turn. So you pretty much always have that plugged in. Also better defenses and immunity to all these different debuffs. So definitely stronger. The hungry seems a little more thematically appropriate for mutations, though. With just giant like webbed claws and stuff. Cool looking, nasty. I mean, this feels like something like that could be created from a person. Yeah, the hangry. Everybody likes the hangry. The hangry would be have a vulnerability, though. You know what? The one time that create food or drink is can actually be a fantastic combat spell. God, imagine if a player even A, had that spell, and B, had the idea fighting the hangry. I was like, you know what? I'm going to create some food. The Lonely is from Vecna Eva. Oh, no, there is a Mordenkainen version. Okay. We like doing the sword limbs, don't we? Like doing the sword limbs quite a bit. And yeah, you're right. They're associated with the Shadowfell. So they're like just really creepy Shadowfell creatures. But you know what? We're gonna retheme them. We're gonna retheme them as like biological nightmare mutations from the Mind Flayers that they're doing to maybe some of the people in order to create, I don't know, it's for funsies or maybe to create shock troops in a way. And maybe they're only at the beginning of that process. You know, the other one at Bronzo was making pretty basic ones that were not much different from people, maybe like webbed hands or something with a little bit of claws. And maybe the one who's doing it here is actually going way more advanced into it and making some really pretty nasty creations, and only at the beginning of it. So it's not like we're really seeing these creatures too much around, except for maybe like one who's they made as a guard to this area, and then the others are maybe all kind of in vats or something. We could see it like that. The Lonely has a sword or a harpoon arm. One harpoon attack and uses Sorrowful Embrace, CR9. Boy, that's nice. At the start of each turn, each creature within 5 feet must succeed a DC 15 Wisdom save or take 3d6 psychic damage straight up. That feels very appropriate to a creature that would be suffering from, like, being mutated into a horrible creature. That's awesome. I might even put that on the other ones, too. Thrives on company. This also has advantage on attack rolls while within 30 feet of at least 2 other creatures. Also interesting. Otherwise, it has disadvantage on attack rolls. That's fascinating. I don't know if I like the attacks as much. Harpoon arms. The token and everything, it just doesn't look quite as mutated-y as the Hungry does. But God, I like the traits of this guy. I could always use the physical body of the Hungry. And perhaps use the stat block of the Lonely. Hungry and Lonely are also bad combinations. Okay. God, there's a fascinating amount of things you can use here. The Lonely's grapple arm is more damaging than I thought. Nearly a TPK. Really? +7, 48 +3 piercing damage. Target is grappled. 2 harpoon arms can grapple 2 creatures at once. Each creature grappled by the Sorrowsworn, which is it. Oh, it actually is part of its multi-attack, too. So it can use 1 harpoon arm attack and use Sorrowful Embrace. So it could, if it hits with harpoon arm, it grapples them. It does not restrain them, though. But then it can use Sorrowful Embrace and force a grapple target to make a DC 15 Wisdom save, taking 48 psychic damage on a failed save or half as much damage as an successful save. Either way, the Sorrowsworn pulls each of those creatures up to 30 feet straight toward it. That's the only bummer, is I'm not going to take advantage of any of that range stuff. It's like the 60-foot range and a 30-foot grappling thing. It's like, that'd be really awesome if you had the opportunities like a roper, where you've got like all these environmental things. But these are very tight, small caves. So now that's why I'm kind of balking at the actual physical actions compared to somebody like the Hungry or the Angry. But I love the Psychic Leech feature. I may have to throw that on the others because that really fits it pretty well. All right, I think the last one is the Wretched. Wretched Sorrowsworn. Oh, they're little dogs. Well, like pigs with like the trimmers mouths. Wretched pack tactics. Well, we could use this stat block for creatures in the vats too. Has advantage on an attack roll against a creature of at least one of the allies within 5 feet of the creature. Like if it's just a person who has like just legs and a fucking like nasty maw mouth, like a Sarlacc pit, could be pretty good. It attaches to the target. It like leeches onto you like a leech. While attached, the Sorrowsworn can attack, and at the start of the Sorrowsworn's turn, the target takes 1d10 plus 1 necrotic damage, which is not very much damage. Moves the target when the target moves, requiring none of the Sorrowsworn's movement. It attaches itself within 5 feet. Creature including the target uses action to detach the Sorrowsworn. Okay, so it's like an auto success to get rid of it, but it does just attach to you. I guess it no longer has to make attacks, which only has a +3. Mouth roosters. Oh yeah, the Mousers. You know what's a good Turtles game is what's it called? Shoot. Shredder's Revenge was fantastic. That's the one that they did a year or two ago that looks like a 1990s side-scrolling beat 'em up Turtles game, and it is exactly that. It's great. It's got all the best. It's they did it where it's like how your brain thinks those games were. Of course, if you go back to me like, oh, this is really kind of a little more clunky and rudimentary than I remember, but they feed on that. They build on that nostalgia, and then just made a really great game. Huge bunch of characters, levels, just fun gameplay options, like challenges, like all these different things. It's absolutely fantastic. So if you have any love for those old Turtles beat 'em up games, like was it Turtles in Time, Manhattan Project, the arcade game I played the fuck out of back in the day. I think that was just called Turtles 2, the arcade game or something. All I played, I loved all those games. They're fantastic, and Shredder's Revenge is absolutely incredible and amazing. Hugely recommended. So way to put me on that tangent. But yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. There's a little animation where they're like like wigging their arms because those things clomped on. That's awesome. Yeah. So I'm kind of liking the idea. I think I've sold myself on having it be the creepy vats of like mutated creatures that they're walking through. I think we can probably keep the Mind Flayer as the boss. That's how I'd already set it up. With still mainly casting spells, by the way, because of having access to the Staff of the Magi. I'm sure the players will want to disarm Ingramar from having access to that staff, in which case then they'll just go like full Mind Flayer mode, I suppose. But then later they can go to this layer and have it be more just creepy environmental stuff, but still include a couple of these creatures as options for them to face off. But I don't need to go too crazy with having it be a big slog dungeon crawl, because this is literally the entrance to the big slog dungeon crawl, right? That I presume the players will be entering into. But like I said, I don't. Best case scenario, we may make it to the very beginning of this area tomorrow. Right? It's tomorrow. I think I said earlier it was today, but no, it's tomorrow. Today is the patron game day. That's the one. In fact, as I wrap up this Crafting the Deep, if you are signed up for the patron game for today, I will see you tonight. As always, shout out to the patrons. Shout outs to Platinum patrons: Joe, Will, Thomas, Dan, Brennan, Zen, Center, Eclectic, Roll, Plural, Christopher, Corey, Big Nut, John F, John L, Nathan, Camp Chris, Lake, Counselor, Andrew, The Relder, and Stephanie, Patrick, Jason, Ismail, Amit, Lumi, Spud, Sharni, Warden, Heather, Mona, LLC, Tom, AJ, They're Eating the Dogs, Caleb, Chad, Luke, and Nicholas, and Gold patrons: RPG, Paper Crafts, Preboy, and Yuma, Diddles Lounge, Jerome, Nathan, Paz, Victoria, Scott, Ruffus, Jerry, Glenn, Marcus, and Mark. Thank you all for your support. Be sure to take care of yourselves and have a great one. I will see you tomorrow. Unless you're in a patron game, I'll see you tonight.